This is Suave, Suave the model. Interviews with public figures and I offer knowledge. When it comes to real estate, consider me a go. Whoa. This is Suave.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Suave the model. Back with another video. Today we're going to be doing a real estate success review with Suave the model. What I'll be doing throughout this series, as I'll call it, is going to be going over 25 or more questions on a weekly basis. What I'll be doing is I'll post a video on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. What this will allow you to do is to review the 25 questions and answers I gave you Monday and Tuesday. Then you go on Wednesday, you learn a new lesson for Wednesday and Thursday. So forth and so forth throughout the week. And then you have the weekend to gather all those questions that you learned and put it to use. What this is hopefully going to do for you guys is prepare you for not only the classes you have to take, but also the state and national exam, which is required in order to get your real estate license. I've gone through this process plenty of times, so I'm giving you my, feedback or secrets about how to pass this test. So without further ado, let's get into the first question, which is, what is an open listing contract? When I think of this question, when I think of this term, open listing contract, what does open mean to me? Open listing. Open to me means that it's available for everybody. If the fridge is open, I'm going to go in and get some food. If the store is open, I'm going to go in, get what I need, and take it out. Boom. So let's see what it says. The answer to this question is. It says a contract open to all brokers, but only the closing broker will get paid. So let's say I'm hoping to sell my house. I put it on the market. Or I go to this broker, that broker, that broker, and I say, hey, I have a listing, but it's an open listing, which means that, hey, you can look and find me a buyer. They can look for buy me a buyer. But if they don't have a better offer than you, then you will get it. If you don't have a better offer than them, then they will get it. So let's say you have a person A, they're coming to you and they say, hey, a person wants to buy your house for $100,000. Okay, that sounds good. Give me 2 weeks to make a final decision. Boom. This person says, hey, I have a $150,000 buyer that wants to buy your house right now. Cool. That'll be the final broker that gets the money from my deal. Now, you might think, why would anybody want to do that? But it's to allow yourself more options to be brought to you. If you have one person looking for this house, they may or may not have the access to those other buyers that they might not know yet. So that is an open listing contract. How is community property different through marriage and single status? Let's remember this question by noticing or highlighting community property. Community property through marriage and single status. So it says property that is attained or obtained during marriage is equally owned by the two spouses, husband and wife, while the property owned prior to the marriage is owned separately. So that's pretty much common sense. Let's say you get married to somebody and you own this house for 15 years. Why would you automatically assume that you got rights to my property when you weren't there when I brought it? When I was working my butt off to go get this property, you were not here. That is what it means to community property. But hey, if we brought this together, then yes, we are both a member of this community, and this is our property, community property. Who is the interstate? That is a very great question, and another answer to this because I always remember interstate. So who is the interstate? This is a great question because when I think of this, I think of you're entering a new state. And this means that a person who dies without a will. So let's say, God forbid, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. And I say that because I hope that nobody, in your family to ever die or anything like that. But let's say somebody in your family died without the will. They are considered an interstate. They're entering a state of death, and they did not do what they had to do prior to, which is writing their will before they died. So they would be considered an interstate because they didn't write their will. Interstate, enter the state of death without a will, obviously. And nobody wants to die. So if you're entering a state of death without a will, that means you didn't want to die. That's another way of thinking about it. I thought that just now. What does homestead refer to? Homestead, I think of this is your home. This is your home. You're steady. You're good. Everything is stable. Homestead. This is the protection of family primary residence from creditors. What this means is you're protecting your property from creditors. People who want to come in and say, hey, we'll give you this amount of money if you give us your home. No, don't do it. You are protected through the homestead. This is the protection of family primary residence from creditors. That means all your payments is paid off. You got everything on file and everything like that. You're protected. What is adverse possession? Keyword here that you're going to want to remember is adverse. This allows one to gain ownership of another's land if the land has been open continuously for a long period of time. So this means nobody has ever came, nobody has made any payments on this house at all. It's been vacant for about a year, maybe even longer than that. That means that this is an adverse possession. That means somebody's going to add value, buy it, or take it from that last person. Adverse possession. That means change of possession from the person that was supposed to be there to the person that is going to be there. That's an adverse possession. This is my favorite question to ask people. So if you're watching this video, you're getting a sneak peek to a mathematical answer that is in real estate. How many acres are in 1 mile? I'll give you a second to think about that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you guessed anything else besides 640, you got it wrong. But now you can use what you learned about this question to ask your family and friends and say, hey, do you know how many acres are in 1 mile? And you'd be like, I don't know. Well, I do. Because I watch Suave the Model on YouTube. All right, let's get into this video though. What is a restrictive covenant? This is when a group of neighbors all agree to do or not to do something in order to benefit the entire neighborhood. When I think of this, I think of restrictive. It means you're set in one area. Restricted, restrictive, one area, you're set for that place. Covenant is like a home. Restrictive covenant, this is your neighborhood, your home. You want to make sure that everything is flowing the way it's supposed to flow. The trash is being picked up when it's supposed to be picked up. The people that's supposed to mow the lawn come when they're supposed to mow the lawn. That is restrictive covenant. Making sure a group of neighbors all agree to do or not to do something in order to benefit the entire neighborhood. Pretty simple. What qualifies property as cooperative? So when you think of co, you always know it's more than one, at least two. So this means that you own whatever was built on that unit, but you do not own the unit. So if this land is right here, there's a land right here, and that is owned by one person. Then you say, hey, can I build my YMCA location on your land, or can I build my home on your land? You say, okay, cool. You own that piece of real estate, that building that you put on top of it, but you do not own the actual land or the actual unit itself. And that is what that means. You do not own the share on the actual real estate. You only own a share of the unit. What is the 1988 New Construction Amendment for the Fair Housing Act? This is a question that I also had kind of a problem with, but over time, I got it. And so I'll read the answer out loud, which is, this is used for multifamily units that contain 4 or more units. 1988, remember that year, and remember New Construction Amendment, Fair Housing Act. This basically means that when I buy a house, I know if I have more than 4 people, I would want more than 4 rooms, right? So fair housing, that means that everybody gets their own little section. Well, this is how I remember it. Fair Housing Act, when I think Fair Housing Act, I'm thinking everybody get what they want. So this means a use for multi-family units that contain 4 or more units. So 1988, 4 or more units. What is joint tenancy? So joint tenancy is joint ownership, which means when one owner dies, the remaining owners inherit a portion of the descendants' right to the property. So if you're in a joint tenancy, let's say you live with your homeboys. You and 6 of your homeboys, y'all buy a big mansion, $3 million. Y'all all balling. It ain't nothing to pay the rent. That's easy. That's a little portion of my money. Boom. Now, when one of those people die, one of your homeboys die, God forbid, the remaining owners inherit a portion of the descendants' right to the property. So if that person owned the garage, that right to the garage passes on to whoever's next down the line. Joint tenancy. Tenancy in common is co-ownership between multiple, 2 or more, individuals without survivorship rights. So this means that no matter who dies first, this property will be able to be sold because nobody has survival rights. So it's not the last to live owns it. No, we have no survival rights with tenancy in common. Tenancy by entireties. What is tenancy by entireties? Joint ownership between husband and wife and holds survivorship. I don't know about y'all, but when I think of marriage, I think till death do us part. What is yours is mine, what is mine is yours. That means that there is survivorship. Whoever survives last owns it. See, easy and simple. By entireties, that means this is my wife, so everything I own is hers and also mine. What is tenancy and severalty? This is ownership by one individual or entity. When I think of this, tenancy and severalty. Severed means cut off. If I cut off the whole world and I say, look, man, this is my property. I live here. Nobody else lives here. Nobody else pays these bills. I am a tenancy and severalty. That is what I am because I own this and nobody else. I pay this, nobody else. What is the increment of value added to parcels of land? Always remember, value added to parcels of land. This is plottage. Parcels of land is the key word that you want to remember. Parcels begins with a P and of land, plottage. When you're creating a farm, you're plotting on that farm. Which is worth more, combined parcels or individual parcels? A lot of people, when they think of this question, think, wow, I would want an individual parcel because, I mean, it's one parcel. But you have to also think that the combined parcels is worth more money because of the fact that it has increased utility. When you have more properties or more parcels of land, then you're going to need to have more water flowing, more sewage, and all this stuff that you're going to have to take into consideration, electricity and all of that. Next question is, what is an assemblage? This is very easy too. It says the combination of 2 or more parcels of land. Assemblage, that means you took something and you assembled them together. That means there's 2 or more, you brought them together. That is an assemblage. Next question is, what is the appraisal process? This is a question that is long. So I'm going to go over the answers, and then I'll just tell you the ones that you're probably going to need to know for the test based on my personal experiences. 1, define the problem. 2, plan of appraisal, which is the approximation of the property's value. Collection and verification of the data. If they give you an appraisal, you want to make sure that, hey, you get that double check because somebody might take you out your money and tell you something different that it's not worth. An analysis of the highest and best use of land. Is it going to be used as a farm? Is it going to be used as for a business? What is it going to be used for? Estimate the land value. How much land are you buying? Are you buying a lot or a little? And what is on that land that you already are hoping to buy? Application of relevant valuation approaches. This includes income capitalization, sales comparison, and cost. What is other properties around it going for? Don't undercut yourself, but also don't get too greedy. Reconciliation, and 8, the reports of final estimate. What you want to remember right here is going to be define the problem, which is number 1. Then number 8 is reports of the final estimate. The reason I say that is because when I get this question, every single time it always asks me either what's the first step of the appraisal process or what is the last step of the appraisal process. So the first step is going to be define the problem, and the last step is report of the final estimates. But Feel free to write down all 8, but those are the primary ones they're going to ask you for, the first step and last step. Next is, what methods could be used to value a vacant site? That means that there's nobody there. How do you estimate the value? Sales comparison. What are the values around your property going for? That is number 1. Extraction, allocation, subdivision development, land residual technique, and ground rent capitalization. What are you taking out? What are you putting back in? What is the purpose of you buying this land? These are the things to take into consideration when you're trying to value a vacant site. Does it take more to fix it than it is that you're going to profit from? How long will it take to profit from it? Because some properties take long to renovate. Some properties, you go in, you get a crew, 3 months, done. Some properties take a year, some change. What occurs during a net listing? A net listing is when the principal agrees to set an amount, and anything over that amount is commissioned to the broker. So a net listing basically means that the principal, which is the seller, agrees to a set amount. That means that if you agree to sell your house for $200,000, if I sell it for $250,000, I get that $50,000 through my brokerage. That does not go, that extra $50,000, you only wanted $200,000, that's your fault, not mine. I got $250,000, I get $50,000, and I'll divide that between my brokerage and me. That's what that means. Net listing. A net basically stops everything else that's not supposed to go through from going through. So if it's in a net, you ain't getting out of that. You agreed, you tied in. What happens during an exclusive right to sell? Keywords to remember is exclusive and the right to sell. This means that the principal will pay commission to the broker regardless of who produces the buyer. That means that in an exclusive right to sell, if you tell me that you want me to go find a buyer and I find a buyer, but you go and find a buyer too and they have a higher offer, guess what? You still got to pay me, bro. You guys to give me my money. I don't give a damn. You going to pay me my money because that is what we agreed on in the exclusive right to sell. If I didn't tell you to go find a buyer, you told me to go find a buyer. I'm over here working and you go find somebody better. That's not my fault. Exclusive right to sell. And that brings me to the next question. What happens during an exclusive agency? Similar, only one broker gets employed and paid unless the principal produces a buyer for the real estate. So that means that if the principal, the seller, fires somebody, then I get paid. The brokerage gets paid. All right, so we got about 5 or 6 more left that we're gonna do. And the next one is, what is periodic tenancy? The keyword that I want to take into this question is periodic. Periodic means periodically, like from time to time. You know what I mean? Periodic tenancy. And the answer to that question is a lease that goes from month to month, like I said, periodic, so month to month or year to year. So, you know, January, February, or 2010 to 2011, 2020 to 2021. That is considered a periodic tenancy. And the next one is, what is eminent domain? When I think of domain, I think of the bigger person, the person with authority, you know? So just remember domain and eminent domain. What is eminent domain? The answer that they have is the government's right to take private property for public use after giving a set and agreed upon amount of money. So when you think about the government taking your property, they can take it without giving you anything, or they can take it with something. And eminent domain is basically like them nicely saying, hey, you have a piece of land that we need to use for a set date or for a set time period. Can we give you some money to use your property? That is an eminent domain. It is an agreement upon private property for the government to use for public use. All right, what is a leasehold? A leasehold is when an individual leases real estate from another. So let's say I'm leasing land from you and you're allowing me to do so. This would be considered a leasehold because I'm borrowing property from you, or vice versa, which is a leasehold. And that means that we both have an agreement, we both made a lease, and we both signed on that. Always remember, when it comes to real estate, everything is about signing and agreeing. You can tell me one thing, and then you can put another thing on paper. Please, please, please take this into consideration when you're doing real estate, guys. All right. What is annexation? Answer to this is the attachment of personal property to real estate. The examples that I put for this one, which helped me remember what annexation is a sink becomes a fixture when it is annexed to plumbing outlet and is therefore now real property. So you bought a sink, that's considered a fixture. It hasn't been placed in yet. Once you attach it to the plumbing and the water goes down the sink, boom, into the drain, that is therefore real property because it goes from saying, hey, this is a sink, I can bring it here, I can bring it there, I can do this, I can do that, to now saying, hey, boom, this is a permanent part of this housing until it gets destroyed, which is real property. And that is the definition of annexation. Next is, what is timeshare ownership? It says ownership by multiple people who have the right to use the property during a specific time period. So the key word in this one you want to say is time share ownership. So time, for a set time or whatever, and then share. That means it's with me and multiple people. This is me sharing with you, A person, B person, C person, whatever, and for a set period of time. That is timeshare ownership. We share a property for a set time. Timeshare ownership. Easy, simple, and to the point. What is a lien? Now, when I first thought about this, it was very confusing. I thought of many ways that I could remember it, but I had to find a way that the average person or the person that's just picking up on real estate just to know enough, how would they understand this? So lien is spelled L-I-E-N. When you think of lien, and it's spelled L-I-E-N, it looks like lie, L-I-E. And when I think about that, I say, okay, lie-N. It looks like lying, and a lie is a claim because it hasn't been proven to be true or false, a lie. So this is a lien. It's a claim that has not been proven yet. And their example is a claim put on a property owner. Same thing as I said. A lien doesn't mean that you're guilty of said thing or innocent of said thing. It's just a claim. We filled out paperwork. We said you didn't do we said you didn't make payments in your last couple months. We're gonna make a lien on the property, which means that if we prove that you didn't pay it, then we get our property back. If you do prove that you paid it, then there's nothing we can do about it. So always in real estate, like I said, keep your paperwork. A paper trail will save you in this game. And it looks like we're back to the first card, guys. So that basically wraps up this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the many videos that I have coming up where I will share 25 or more questions in each and every single video, which will help you as well as help me to perfect the real estate business. We will learn the real estate business together. It can be terms, formulas, anything. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to add to this video, please comment below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, you're tuned in with Suave the Model.